conversation is going round. People talking about the colors come to town. Fresh as a summer breeze, she'll take you by surprise.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Fresh Waves here on Whistle FM. I'm your host, Bren Masson. Today we have a fantastic show lined up. I know I say that every week because we have such great guests and really good shows. So I would like to start by saying hello to Jason Rumball, our technical producer. Hi, Jay.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Now, today we're going to be talking about fashion, and I know that's a subject that's true and dear to a lot of people's hearts. So how do they get a hold of us if they'd like to make a comment or ask us a question?
Yes, we're on Facebook. You can go to our Facebook page, Fresh Waves on Whistle FM. We're also on Twitter at Fresh Waves Radio, and you can also send us an email as well to Bren@freshwaves.ca.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
You're
and we'll
very
be
welcome.
checking our phones and stuff throughout the show. So if you do have a question, we'll be able to answer it on air today, unless it's something super complicated that needs maybe a little bit of planning and stuff like that. But for the most part, we'll be able to answer almost any question today. Joining us in the studio, we have Jessica Kahoon and Karen Piper. Now, both of you ladies are very involved in the fashion industry, so I anticipate a great conversation. We're going to be really candid today. We're not going to try and be politically correct and beat around the bush. If people have a question, you know, I'm a size 23 and what do I wear to make me look good this summer, and I don't want to wear a big bag. You know, how do we address things like the muumuu that should probably only be worn in Hawaii in a movie, and other things like that. What is style? What is fashion? And what looks good on me? Those are three individual things. They're not necessarily all the same, because even though it's fashionable, if it doesn't look good on you, it's not very fashionable. And what makes you feel good? And is that necessarily what you wear to a gala? Lululemons? Probably not. You know, we'll do some fashion do's and don'ts. We'll talk about summer sizzle without the sleeves, because I think people sometimes get carried away with the fact that it's hot out and wear next to nothing. I was walking in a walk for brain tumor awareness a few weeks ago. It was oddly hot and sunny in Toronto, and there was a woman walking who was basically wearing a bikini top and a pair of Lululemon pants, and she was definitely over 60, in really good shape. But was that appropriate? Wouldn't have been my choice, but maybe it is fashion and I'm just a little out of touch. And if you're over, I call them my joyful listeners. For any of my joyful listeners, just older youth, my joyful listeners, you don't have to dress like the Queen. You can dress a little more funky. Actually, she's been dressing pretty funky these days. I must say, for an older woman, she's looking pretty spry and she's looking pretty dapper. She's really carrying off a lot of color this year that I've seen. I love the facial expressions when she's dealing with Donald Trump. Those are my favorites. But you know what I mean? Seniors don't have to look like seniors. Joyful listeners don't have to look like they're older than they are. And I don't know. My mom. Hi, Mom. I know you're listening. And Karen's mom's listening too, right?
My mom's listening too, yeah.
So hello to both of them. And
my kids might be listening.
Okay, they're not that old. No. But when you hear them say, oh, I can't wear that top because I don't like to show my neck with all the wrinkles. Be proud of every single one of those wrinkles. You've earned those lines and then some. You know, this unrealistic expectation that people have now to look like Jane Fonda when they're 80. Jane Fonda doesn't look that way naturally, let me tell you. So we'll debunk some myths. We'll have some great conversations. We'll talk about how the fashion that you should love the most is you yourself, right? And we're going to get to that in just a second. We have to thank Reeser's Market and Bakery for all the wonderful muffins that we have in the studio today and their ongoing support. And we have to say that Whistle FM is Stouffville's community radio station, and it's a really nice place to hang out. And if you have anything that you want to, if you want to spend your volunteer hours, come on down to Whistle. If you'd like to just drop by and tell us your story or give us your opinion, drop by. We're always here. We're on the lower level of Stouffville Fine Furniture, and we'd love to see you. We'd love to have your opinion on everything that's going on at the station.
We sure would. Yep.
Okay, so Karen, we'll start with you. You have a store.
Correct.
But you've been in fashion since you were very, very young.
Yes. Due to my mother. My mother, when I was in school, every Saturday we'd go to Fabricland, buy fabric, and on Sunday we would make me new outfits for the week for school. So my mother was the base of my fashion.
Okay.
She always dressed me in cute little dresses, and I always had the matching purse and the little shoes. So it's all based on my mother as when I was a child.
So did she teach you how to sew as well?
She did, and I still to this day sew lots.
Isn't that interesting? Because that's a dying art too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a trade that there's just nothing like that around anymore.
And I find that sometimes if you go out and buy all the stuff, by the time you've bought it all and made it yourself, you could have gone and bought it at the store for cheaper.
Exactly, but then it's not your own made and it's not your own talent, right?
Mm-hmm. And then you can have something completely different that the stores don't have.
Exactly.
As long as you can find a fabric that's different.
Exactly.
Interesting. Now, Jessica, how about you? You're a stylist, so you make your living sort of telling people what to wear.
That is correct. I think the key to me was really understanding what you just mentioned, right? A lot of people goes by, I cannot wear this because I'm certain age. I cannot wear this because I don't look that good. And to me, it was my own personal challenge to really know how to dress for myself. And as a result of that, I became a stylist or personal image management consultant.
Did you like fashion when you were a kid?
I love fashion all the time. Before this, actually, when was it? 2009, I started a fashion clothing in business with one of my friends. And I did some home shows, and then I went to several, like the CNE, all of that. I was always involved in fashion, but I always knew how to dress myself, I thought, until I learned how to dress myself. So I'm always fascinated by fashion and how things look in certain people.
Did you ever have tickle trunks when you were little? Costume boxes filled with all kinds of fun things to wear?
I have one now.
I have one for my kids, obviously, with a lot of things.
Yeah, when I was little, I used to love to play dress up. And when you put on that hat or that weird little dress, all of a sudden you became that weird little person that would really wear that weird little dress. It's crazy what happens to us psychologically when we dress. Mm-hmm. And I know that the Stovall Spirit and the Junior A hockey guys, they have to wear a suit because when they're wearing a suit, they actually behave differently than when they're in their sweatpants and T-shirts. And believe me, I know because I've been on the bus with them enough times to know that they let loose when they're in their sweats and T-shirts. And as soon as they put that suit on, psychologically, they're on their best behavior.
They're a different person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's their Sunday best, and they act like they're in their Sunday best. And it's quite the transition. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to have to take our first little break now. But when we come back, we've got a lot of fashion to discuss. You're listening to Fresh Waves, and we'll be right back.
Hi folks, Kim Mitchell here. You know, however you choose to get around, your ATV, your snowmobile, your boat, car, if you have a motorcycle, all these things take 100% of your attention and skill to operate safely. Alcohol impairs that, and bad things can happen. So, be smart, okay? You know what I'm going to say next.
This message brought to you from the Safe and Sober Awareness Committee.
Claudio here with knowledgeflow.ca. If your family has been the victim of cybercrime, cyberbullying, or malicious privacy abuses, you're not alone. It's happening every day and sometimes carries tragic consequences, as we've seen in recent news. What's the solution? Don't internalize it. If it's an urgent issue, call the police immediately. If, however, you would like professional advice, you can confidentially email report@knowledgeflow.ca and get some ideas for dealing with social media, instant messaging, webcams, hacking, identity breaches, etc. Remember to visit knowledgeflow.ca on Facebook and potentially arrange a seminar for your community center, your school, or your Board of Education.
And we're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We've got Karen Piper and Jessica Kahoon in the station with us today, and we're talking about fashion. So, both of you have been in fashion since you were little because you always like fashion. And there's a lot of people who like fashion, and there's a lot of people who seem to be identified by their fashion. So you see the artsy types downtown who think they're all different and they all look the same. You see the high school students who think they all look different and they all look exactly the same. it takes a little bit of bravery, I think, to step out of what is considered the norm and to be your own kind of fashion and love your own fashion. I think you have to love yourself first. So how do we get people to the point where they actually like themselves enough to dress for who they are?
Well, you kind of have to just work with them. And like even with us in the store, people come in and they always go to the same thing. And sometimes what we do is we just say, you know what, try this, try something different, step out of the box. You're not old. It's how you feel.
Yep.
And it's look good, feel good. And if you don't look good, you don't feel good. So sometimes you just have to take that step and try something different. And I'm sure Jessica totally agrees.
Well, absolutely. I think to me is, as you mentioned, right? It's a lot of the influence. You try to be different, but you at the end are the same because you're imitating someone else's style.
Well, we do get dictated to in the magazines and everything. They tell you what the fashion is, and then apparently you're supposed to just wear it because that's what's fashion.
That's what fashion. And I think the way that I like to teach is really, and as you mentioned, right, at certain age, joyful community here, you have to know yourself. You have to really go deeper and say, you know what? This is the personality I have, and this is why I always have a tendency to like these certain styles. And really reflect, is that because of the majority of the people or because my mother told me? And if it doesn't make me feel good, is go above and beyond, as Karen mentioned, right? Is try this different thing, and then you will see how that looks on you, right? So is that moment in your life that you need to start thinking, what do I like? How do I feel comfortable with this clothing? And it's all about, as you said, right, loving yourself and being able to comfortable, try different things.
Color is an interesting thing.
Color is a very interesting thing.
It's fashionable. It's trendy. When we have Yolanda on, which we will next week, and we talk about decorating, and Benjamin Moore will pick out their color of the year, and I often look at it and say, you must be kidding. It's the same in fashion. But it's difficult, I think, for either of you, although the one thing I like about both of you is that you are honest. Nothing's worse than being in a store, being sold something that you really have to be convinced into. You get home and you look at it and you say, I just don't like this. I really don't like this. I don't like this. And then you put it in the closet, and 6 months later you say, oh, I spent like $100 on that. I should wear it. You put it on and you say, I just don't like this. I really don't like this. And it ends up going out the door, and you've never worn it. And I think that's a shame. First of all, it's a waste, and I don't really have the money to just be throwing things out the door that I haven't ever worn. So how do you get to the point where you can be honest with someone and say, that really doesn't look, I don't like that color on you, or just, because you're in retail, you want to sell somebody something. You want your client to come back and be happy, and here they are in their copper-colored jean jacket that makes them look like they have an illness. That's right. And you can't say that to them because you'd like to maintain, but it's their favorite color. And they've been wearing it since they were a kid.
Right.
So how do you tell that person that?
You just have to be honest with them. Like when ladies come into our store all the time, if we don't like something on them, we say, you know what? Why don't you try this? Or why don't you? That's not a great color. We had that instance yesterday. There was a lady in and she was trying on all these colors, and it was like, why are you doing that? You need more color. And she was like, okay. And finally we got her into color, and she was so happy because it was like, oh my God, this looks great. So,
and she'd never tried those colors before?
No, and we just kind of worked with her, and you do the same thing.
Oh, yeah, and part of the things that I do is teaching them color, right? I think one of the great myths that I have in all of these years of serving people, it's a lot of women go safe because it's been told by everywhere that
black is perfect.
Black is slim you down, is safe, it's elegant. And you go to the closet of every woman, and 95% of their closet is black. It's not knowing themselves. It's not knowing their tonalities, not knowing their colors.
I look awful in black. Did I ever tell you that?
That's right.
I actually do. So I'm wearing black today because I like these pants. And I got a white jacket, so I thought, I can do this actually.
You
first
could
time
put
wear
red
black
underneath
and white.
there, though.
I never thought of that. See, that's why I have you guys on my show. Red.
Yeah. And like me,
a red
Jessica
t-shirt.
said about black, I do not own one piece of black in my wardrobe. Because you know what? it's a hiding color. It's
is.
dark. It's not right for everybody. Yes, there's
Right.
lots of people it looks awesome on, but seriously, black is a hiding color. People hide in black.
That is correct.
They don't show their personality. They think that black is beautiful, which black is beautiful, but in the right frame, in the right style, in the right looks.
And with
So-
the right tonality of people, right? Because it doesn't suit everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And black actually, as you get older and we're more joyful, you black actually does make you look older and more tired.
Absolutely. So it's know your colors. That's the most important thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there was that color thing back in the 70s and 80s where you went and you had your colors done. And I know people today who had their colors done when they were in their early 20s who will not deviate from that color palette. And I say to them, well, okay, so maybe you don't wear that color right up against your face, but what about wearing it at the bottom and then wearing something complementary on top? And they won't break the pattern. They just can't because someone at some time told them that these were their colors and these are the only colors that they can wear.
Okay, so here's an example of that. I did my colors for that reason way back then because, you know what, everybody was coming into the store and they're like, oh, I have my colors done. So I went and got it done. I was 3 different seasons. I didn't change my hair. I didn't do anything. I went to 3 different places and I was 3 different seasons. So unless you know yourself, like I know I can't wear black. I know I can't wear white. You know what looks good on you.
Right.
So you just...
And it seems that the people who can't wear black can't wear white.
Exactly, because that's
Or they
the
don't
winter
wear it
tones.
well.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I'm more of a summer tone, so I shouldn't be wearing what I'm wearing today, but I am because that's just me.
As Karen mentioned, I think those are tools and guidance, right? But I mean, if you go to the beach and you put a little bit more, you're more tan, you will change a little bit of your tonality. Although there are some colors that intuitively will bring you that joy and that energy. And that's what Karen is saying, right? It's like there are colors that make you feel comfortable and joyful. Those are your colors. So if you deviate a little bit, just think about the energy that it starts to generate on your own body, right? And why are you going to put something that is like making me partially happy, right? Think about something that makes me extremely happy when I'm wearing it. And color brings that. Color brings that joy in yourself.
My brain's still churling with a red T-shirt. I'm going to get a red T-shirt to wear with these pants now. And I've got a red jacket that I can wear with these pants.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, add your color. And this is a time.
Yes.
Spring and summer are the best times for color. Even though moving into fall of this year, there is lots of color. So it's starting to change up because, for example, next spring there is no black. So ladies that are wearing black
Okay, so you're buying now for
spring
next
2020.
Spring.
Yes.
And if you're, as a stylist, recommending that people buy a new wardrobe, that's an expensive endeavor. So you too probably have to keep your eye on what's coming
Absolutely.
far down the road.
Yes.
So no naked shoulders. And I mean, I
Spaghetti
think
straps.
there's fun for there's certain things that you can buy that is that 1 or 2 fun trendy thing.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it, keep it pretty. If you want to be, financially conservative, you got to keep some classics in your wardrobe, right? But when you say that next spring, we haven't even had spring yet. Like, come on. We're still dealing with, I don't know what I call
That's
late
right.
winter
Yeah,
temperatures.
yes, exactly.
It's going down. Tomorrow's high is going to be 16. What is that? Anyway, so we're looking at next spring in fashion. The average person doesn't have that ability to look at what's coming for next spring, or do they now with the internet?
They do, but they don't. I mean, everything's going to change because most of it's European and Europe we're behind. So we're like a year behind Europe.
That is correct.
So it's just like, you know what? You just have to go with the flow. And when it starts coming into the stores, you start getting it because that's how you're going to see all the new colors.
Okay.
And the way that I advise my clients is normally start building your wardrobe with the basics, right? And the basics should be classic because that's, a pair of nice jeans, a pair of a nice white top, a nice dress, right? Those are the basics that you start your wardrobe with.
The
And
black pair of pants.
your shade of darkness of color. Let's
Yes,
call it
exactly,
like that.
exactly.
Let's not call it black. And then that's another myth that a lot of women come to me at a certain age and say, well, I cannot be any more trendy because I hit my 40s. And that's another myth to me. It's like, what? You have to be trendy, but you have to have, like I said, have your modules of your classics. And then when the fashion, you add those pieces so it keeps you up to date. And it shows that you're still not that age that that you don't want to say, okay, I'm in my 40s, 50s. But you have to know how to really play first with your basics, your classic pieces, and then start adding those trendy pieces. That's how I advise them.
Exactly. You get your basics, and like they're saying this season, is the must-have is one pair of printed pants. I mean, that's the fashion piece that, no, it doesn't work on everybody for sure, but the one item is a printed pant.
Okay, I have to tell you something funny. I'm going to Europe this summer. Mm-hmm. My family's Swiss, so I'm going to a big family reunion. I just bought a pair of jeans that are reversible. Tribal.
Yeah, awesome.
One of my favorite brands is Tribal. And they're reversible. So I figured, what a great traveling pant. If I mess up the one side, I just flip them inside out and wear the other side. Now, you can do that with a regular pair of pants, but it looks like they're inside out. These ones don't look like they're inside out. And the one pattern is like, it's a pair of jeans on the one side, and the inside is a pair, it's floral. Like it's but it's still the muted colors of the denim colors of the reds and the blues that make up the floral pattern.
And we have that at the store too, as you're talking, and we've got it in the skirts, the pants, and jackets.
I'm so happy with those. I just
perfect for traveling.
What a perfect pair of pants for traveling. I mean, it's just funny. For me, it's funny, but I'm going to wear them.
But it's reality now, because then you get 2 for 1.
Exactly.
So you're buying one pair of pants, but you've got 2 different looks.
I have a tribal sweatshirt that I can wear inside out as well.
Yeah. And I love that type of trends, right? That it's something practical, and then you get a double whammy, right? 2 for 1. It's pretty much what you're getting. So
yeah, and it's funny. Nobody knows too.
No, exactly, and that's the whole thing, right?
All right, okay, that's my funny for the morning. I just get so tickled every time I see them. It makes me smile, and I figure, even if they're awful, they still make me smile. So, I'm going with them. Anyway, Jason, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll continue our fashion discussion. So stay tuned. You're listening to Fresh Waves.